Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast with myself, Sam Hill, and as always I'm joined by...
Tovey
and...
Ben Thomas.
And in today's episode we're going to be talking about the Artur Beterbiev and Callum Smith fight, previewing the fight ahead with Natasha, Jonas and Mikaela, listening to some audio clips from the world of boxing and talking about when Misfits and the Professional Boxing Association have split. But before we get into all of that, boys, first of all, you Ben, how was your weekend?
I don't know if
I wonder why you asked Ben first.
I don't know if I want to bring it up, but we had a nice day out watching Cardiff against Leeds. Wasn't a great result. I called the result, but the wrong way round.
Yeah, that was quite funny, that was. When I was watching the scores on, what do they call it, Gillette Soccer, and Ben put earlier on in the morning, yeah, Cardiff is easy. Cardiff are winning 3-0. I think, Sam, you put a gif in, didn't you, of Cristiano Ronaldo celebrating, going mad.
Maybe. No, it was Bamford.
No, it was Bamford, was it? Oh.
Yeah, Pat Bamford. What about you, Harry? Did you get up to anything interesting?
No, rugby was called off,
Oh.
so I just relaxed and preparing myself for my birthday weekend this weekend. So
Exciting.
Yeah.
Big exciting.
Do you know who else was born on my birthday? Artur Beterbiev.
You
The
told us
best
that.
people are born on the 21st of January. Can I just add?
Well, obviously, did you move on to Beterbiev, and obviously he won against Callum Smith, 7th round knockout. I mean, what a performance it was from him throughout the entire fight. I mean, I think he lost 1 or 2 rounds, according to the judges, but it was seriously impressive, wasn't it?
He made Smith look like he's never boxed before, you know? He took everything away from Smith, and, you know, I think Buddy McGirt was saying to Smith in between rounds, go to the body. Beterbiev wasn't allowing him to do that. And, yeah, Beterbiev, we did our pound-for-pound list. How did we forget about his name and not putting him in it? You know, that's mad.
Yeah, he's probably one that's going to be on the list come the end of 2024, but it was a good performance. He started strong, he come flying straight out, pinned him straight in the corner, started unleashing shots, and even Smith said, I don't think the shots were hurting him, but it's just the amount of shots he gets off. Just it's hard to keep him off, really.
Yeah, I was surprised about the fact about how well he established the jab early on. I mean, I think Callum Smith spoke a lot about how, you know, Beterbiev's lose rounds and that he could outbox him. But he got outboxed and outpowered. I mean, Beterbiev, he closed the distance well. He doesn't waste any energy when he fights. He just looks like he's doing what he has to do and no more or no less. When Smith started throwing shots, he just put up a high guard, ate the shots, and then came back with his own. What did you think? Did Smith do anything good in the fight that makes you think, you know, he was just fighting against a good man, or was it maybe an off performance from Smith on the day?
I think he was just against a better fighter, and I think he just got found out, and a lot of people were bigging him up before. I think even Eddie Hearn was saying that he was expecting Smith to win. His brothers were there as well, saying that he'd win, but he didn't stand a chance, really, I don't think.
He was trying to go to the body, weren't he, a lot, and he was missing too often. And Beterbiev, like all the great fighters do, they just make you do what they want you to do, and he was just a punching bag at the end of the day, weren't he?
Yeah, I think the one good note I made when I watched the fight back for Smith was that he did well to stay on his feet for as long as he did.
100%. Yeah.
He took some heavy shots, and there was the first round. I mean, about 20 seconds in, Beterbiev decided to just lay out onto him, just let his hands go.
It was a quick start, yeah.
And yeah, I think that's other than, I mean, he threw some good combos here and there. Obviously, I think he won the second round pretty unanimously. But other than that, it was proper one-way traffic. And I don't know if you boys, did you watch the undercard as well with Maloney and Sal Sanchez? I don't know if you boys have an opinion on that, but when I watched it back, I hadn't seen who'd won. And I couldn't believe that Maloney had been given the win. I thought it was a fairly comfortable Sanchez win from my point of view, but he got the majority decision and obviously kept hold of his belt. Don't know what you boys thought about that.
It's a close one, I think. From what I've seen of it, you could give it either way. I think it depends a lot on what you like to see from a fighter. I think maybe Sanchez was a bit more front foot, putting pressure, but Maloney did pick his shots off well, countered well when he needed to. So I think one judge did have as a draw. The other two had a 116, 112. for Maloney, but it was a very good fight. And
Just saying it was a close fight, but the judges scored it 116, 112.
Yeah,
That's mad.
I felt it was quite close. Like, you could give some rounds either way. Sanchez was like, he put in a good performance. He was there for every round, but it's difficult really. I think it depends on what type of judge you have in front of you, what they're gonna prefer from the fighter. But I've seen a few people mention it's an early fight of the year contender from.
Yeah, it was an unreal fight. I mean, it's like the complete opposite of some of the fights we've seen, like we said with like Shakur Stevenson and De Los Santos. It was just, it was all inside fighting. They were stood in front of one another the entire fight. The pace was crazy. I mean, Sanchez has never fought a 12-round fight before that fight. He's only gone to 10 rounds, and those last 2 rounds, he didn't look like there was any issues. The last 5 seconds, they literally the two of them stood in the centre of the ring and just let go whatever they had left.
Ain't it?
Yeah, it was a brilliant fight. I think, maybe one that I'd like to see a rematch for. I don't often go, oh, do you know what, I really fancy a rematch on that one. But it was so close, and it was such a good fight. I'd happily watch them go at it again for 12 rounds. Yeah,
I think even if Sanchez doesn't get that rematch, he's definitely put himself in with a chance of getting further title
he'll be back, yeah, 100%. Did you see Maloney when he landed in Montreal as well? He couldn't fly to Quebec. He had to drive 5 hours. So he's Australian as well, ain't he, Maloney? So
yeah. I saw him in an interview afterwards, and he'd taken a serious beating. I mean, Sanchez there was some really nice uppercuts, and there was a nasty cut on the eye of Maloney, which is causing a bit of issue throughout the whole fight. And he looked the worst of the two at the end of the fight. I know that doesn't necessarily matter for anything, but he certainly looked like he'd been hurt. Yeah, I think next step maybe now for Maloney could be a rematch with Emmanuel Rodriguez, who's IBF champion. They fought once before, and Rodriguez won that one, I think, and it'd be a good chance for him to add another belt to the collection if he can get revenge there. I think other than that, he'd only lost to Inouye, hadn't he? Yeah, as a fighter, so it's a pretty good record, and if he can get that blemish off with Rodriguez, then you're looking at.
He's a bit like Smith then, Maloney. Smith's only lost to Canelo Alvarez and Beterbiev, and they're fine to lose to because they're just in a world of their own. And yeah, well, Maloney against Rodriguez, I think that's potentially put down the undercard of Beterbiev Bivol in June. Yeah, that could be one to go on there. Could be a good shout. And then I suppose that kind of segues us quite nicely what we can move on to. Before we move on, I think we should. I'll quickly mention the Christian and Billy and Rowan Murdoch fight. Yeah, I've seen some good stuff on it, but I didn't watch it back. And Billy is 26-0 now after winning on the weekend. Murdoch showed good chin. He took some massive shots, but he was stopped. I think, or the corner stopped before the 6th round. But Billy is a Frenchman. He's in the. I should support him then, my Billy.
Yeah. What was it? Middleweight, is it? I don't actually know off the top of my head. I think he's super middle, I think. Super middle. Sorry, he's ranked as number 1 contender now with the WBC and WBA. So could face Canelo. Could be one of the people to face Canelo.
I saw that video, yeah. No, he looked good.
But it was a very strong performance. I haven't really seen much of him before, but especially considering he's 26-0, I think he's someone that should be kept an eye on for future fights.
And he's French, so we're going to support him.
Well, you are. I'm not.
What?
As an Englishman, no way. I think you get that sometimes with fighters from elsewhere, not from America or England or all the big fighting nations, Mexico, Russia, that sort of thing, that they do get lost a little bit in the rankings and they don't tend to get the matchups. And it's good to see that he's worked his way up the division with it. I mean, if you're 26-0, there's not many divisions where you wouldn't be up by the top, but the fact he's only ranked, I think, 5th in the super middleweight with that record, he certainly deserves some big fights.
Top rank do well as well. They give lower, well, not in his case, he's quite high ranked, but top rank give a lot of foreign fighters the chance to come over to America and fight. And
a lot of his fights have been in Canada. I think
so he's like a Beterbiev then.
But obviously, it's an awkward time sometimes, and I think he just hasn't had probably the publicity that some other fighters that sort of ranking would get. But he looked very impressive, very powerful, very quick. I think he could be a dangerous fighter for a lot of people out there at that division.
If you're saying wants Canelo next, then he's obviously good. Because we haven't seen much of Canelo recently, have we?
No, he's been a bit quiet since the
Charlo fight?
He came back with the Charlo fight and was...
The most pointless fight ever.
Yeah, and Benavidez is the fight that everyone's sort of talking about as next, and I think probably should happen at some point.
Does that happen in Saudi Arabia? Potentially.
I mean, what fight doesn't happen in Saudi Arabia at the moment? It's like a get out of jail free card. Like, well, I wonder if that fight will get made. We'll just put it in Saudi Arabia and then it'll get made.
It is mad, ain't it? That he is just like, he's got enough money to just play a game. He's like, right, I want him against him. They won't say no to me because I'm just going to offer them a stupid amount of money to do it. And
yeah, he's got some serious money. We'll talk about that more on later when we'll talk about the some of the stuff that's come from the press conference that was last night or the night before we were recording this. But in the meantime, we're going to go on to Beterbiev, which is just a dead quick clip of what he thought of the fight afterwards.
It was quite, like I said, it was quite comfortable for you. Was you surprised? Was it comfortable in there?
I'm comfortable. I see everything, like, like I see punch, everything, like what he doing. Like, I think it's comfortable, like it's cruise control.
I mean, that's a pretty sort of comprehensive review of the fight, saying he was just on cruise control against the number 2 in the world, arguably. Do you think that's fair, or do you think he's maybe playing it down slightly? Or did he actually look like he was just in cruise control?
He looked in cruise control, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he's just too good.
I think the best fighters are like that. They can just sort of be in there. They can see what's in front of them. They can download what's happening and just figure out how to get around it. I think that's what sets the best between the top of the divisions.
That's what Bellew said about Usyk, didn't he, on I'm a Celeb? Yeah. He said that Usyk doesn't beat you necessarily at the start. He just kind of works you out, downloads all the information, works out how to beat you, and then just pulls the trigger and does it.
He is from a different planet, though, ain't he, Beterbiev?
Yeah,
Let's be honest. He's not human. No,
not at all. And actually, I'll pop the clip next, which is Eddie Hearn's thoughts after the fight, because that segues us onto some of the stuff you're talking about, and maybe a talking point around Beterbiev.
I'm not sure I've seen anything like it before, really. It's like it's not right. It's just like it's an unfair advantage. Great fight. I thought Beterbiev was good defensively tonight as well. He was a lot more switched on and sharp because I think he knew about the power of Callum Smith.
So Hearn used the word unfair advantage, and in a couple of the interviews he said it's not human and a language like that. And I think what Hearn's probably trying to suggest is go back to the issue that there was with testosterone and human growth hormones in the testing back in December. What's your boys' thoughts on that in terms of it was an adverse finding, so it wasn't a positive result, and it was it's been said that it's been proven safe after the fact. They did a retest afterwards and it's fine. Do you think there could be some fishy stuff there, or do you think it's Hearn just trying to stir up the pot because obviously his fighter lost?
No, I just think Hearn knows how good Beterbiev is and he just accepted the loss. We can talk about him failing drug tests and all that, but Beterbiev, have you seen his workouts? How he does 12 3-minute rounds with a hammer on a tyre. It's just that they're brought up differently in Russia compared to in the UK. And yeah, well, obviously it's a bit of a sticky situation there with Beterbiev with his drugs, but I don't think he takes any performance enhancing drugs. He's not like Conor Benn where you can maybe say
is probably one of the most corrupt sports where they try to
100%,
hide a lot.
100%.
But if he's gonna put that out for Beterbiev, he's got to have the same sort of mindset towards Conor Benn and Beterbiev's.
I think
has obviously been
that was
cleared.
Just scrambled eggs, Ben. It was just scrambled eggs.
It was just scrambled eggs. But there's been a lot lately, though, in boxing compared to other sports, that loads of athletes have come out. I think Dillian White, Robert Helenius, Alicia, obviously Beterbiev, whatever happened there. But yeah, it's not a good look for the sport, is it?
I think some people are struggling with the fact that he's obviously 38 going on 39 and he just seems to be getting better rather than
he's aging. Yeah. He's aging like a fine wine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Bellew tweeted, he said that he's getting better. Like, when has a fighter ever got better with age? And physically, it's not possible. And I think he said he was frustrated because he wanted to say more. And I don't know if that's Bellew trying to pretend like he knows something that others don't or something. But yeah, I think to pin it on Beterbiev and say, he's a drugs cheat, he's this, that, and the other, is completely unfair, because a lot of them are at it to some degree, and people have had positive tests and we've let them get back in the ring, and he's yet to have a positive test. So I think until that happens, then we shouldn't be necessarily asking questions and just say fair play, he beat Smith on the day.
Yeah.
And then going on from that, we got something a little bit different out of the way that I heard, which is Vidal Riley talking about Deontay Wilder and what he thinks of Deontay Wilder.
Still talking about Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, why not? It was an interesting clip when I saw it.
I think he should retire. I've shared this on my podcast, Run Wheels, and, I've discussed how I don't feel he has the fighter spirit anymore. It's not about his ability per se. I feel like he's always had the same ability, but it's the spirit, it's his motivation, determination. He's coming out of a very rough, legendary trilogy with Tyson Fury. Those things, they don't leave you easy.
So Vidal had a pretty sort of comprehensive view, which is that he just should retire here and now, because he's lost that edge that he probably once had. Do you think that's a fair sort of thing? We saw him with Joseph Parker. He never really looked like he was even trying to stop him. He just looked happy to be in there and fighting. Do you think it's a fair assessment?
I think he should have retired after the Fury trilogy. I think there's nothing else to complete in the sport. You've become world champion. You've made a crap ton of money fighting Tyson Fury. All right, you lost back-to-back to him, but yeah, it was a pretty pointless... He's obviously going to come back because he's a big name, ain't he? But who does he come back to? And that's why I think he should just retire. And
Jarrell Miller.
Well, if we're talking about drug cheats, he's in prison at the moment, so we can't even talk about him in the world of boxing.
That would be probably the worst fight in the history of heavyweight boxing, in my eyes. If we got Deontay Wilder in there with Jarrell Miller, neither of them could see outside of about 5 rounds and still have anything left in the tank. They would just be sort of falling upon each other. And
yeah, but it's mad to think though that we were talking about, imagine Ngannou against Wilder. We don't want to see that now because there's only one outcome, is there? Wilder's slow now. He's Asian, and compared to Beterbiev, he's getting too old now for this sport. And just walk away, Wilder.
Yeah,
You've earned enough.
I don't know where he goes from here really. Like, I think they were hoping he'd get through Parker to set up the fight with AJ, but AJ, as he was speaking about last night, he's not interested in that now after the performance against Parker. And yeah,
AJ doesn't like easy fights.
They could maybe still do the fight with Ngannou just as an entertainment, just to see two big hitters.
Do you know what they should do with Ngannou and Wilder instead of getting them in the ring? Just get them in that punching machine that you have in an arcade, and that'll be the fight. Yeah,
I think. If Ngannou loses to Joshua, then maybe you can then talk about giving him some of the fights at the sort of mid end of the heavyweight division, where I guess Wilder still probably sits in our estimations.
People beat him there as well. I reckon Johnny Fisher beats Deontay Wilder, in my opinion.
Claim.
That's a claim, but
he just needs to go off, buy a load of eggs, scramble them, cook them.
Get on the Vegas boxing board of control as well.
Yeah, fight out of Nevada, and then you sorted, and he can fight for another 10 years.
Yeah, but on a serious note, though, who can he fight? Wilder. There's no one out there that we want to see him fight.
No, I can't think of a fight. Kaya Bell. Okay, why not? A fight. They're both. If Kaya
Bell for me after his performance, they're reckoning stepping down to fight Wilder.
Is it a step down? Do you think?
The way that Wilder fought last time, yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But I think you could use Wilder as a sort of gatekeeper for the top end of the heavyweight and say
he attracts people.
You have to beat this guy in order to prove that you deserve the next step, which I think Kaya Bell does need probably a fight before he gets a big fight in that division. So maybe you see him fight Wilder, and if you can do the sort of David versus Goliath performance he did against Makhmudov, where the guy's way bigger than him and he somehow batters him, then yeah, maybe we see him. But to be honest, that's me clasping at straws and thinking of a name.
What about Dubois? That could just be Dubois stating himself.
Yeah, another one where I think I'd see it, I'd happily watch it.
But I want,
but it's not necessarily the fight I want.
Yeah, I want Kai Bell Dubois.
Yeah, I think the only reason you'd want to see Wilder now is to use him, like you said, as for someone coming through or coming up to try and make their name, and if they can beat him, it'll put him on the next step towards maybe a world title fight.
Well, McGregor, when he walked to the ring, he was saying to Ronaldo, God knows what else he was saying that night, but he was saying to Ronaldo, it's a very small ring. Wilder draws in attention, don't he? Because he's known as the hardest hitter in the heavyweight division. That's probably quite controversial now, because I think AJ is now, but...
Ngannou, maybe.
Yeah, probably Ngannou.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we, March 8th, but yeah, we'll leave it at that.
And I suppose carrying on in the heavyweight division, we've got another clip where a heavyweight fighter is doing what we love to do on this podcast and calling out another professional boxer.
Hey, what's up? El Animal in the house. I heard that Joseph Parker want to fight me in the March on Joshua Ngannou undercard. So I'm very happy to hear that. I'm ready. I accept your offer, Joe. Let's do it. Let's go, baby. Let's get down to business.
So, if you couldn't tell who that was, El Animal, he called himself. It's Filip Hrgović.
Talking to himself in third person.
Yeah,
Right.
God knows.
Bloody
Filip Hrgović
hell.
saying that he wants Parker for the IBF title fight. Because Hrgović is still the
He's a mandatory
for the IBF.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think he wants to have Parker for that IBF. Is that a fight you'd like to see necessarily, or do you think... because we've chucked Parker's name around a lot recently, after he beat Wilder, and
very much deserving as well.
Do you think would you like to see him fight for a belt and then have that IBF title and maybe get the Joshua fight as Joshua looks to be unified, possibly?
Do you know what's quite funny? Obviously, we're going to talk about it later, but Parker's fighting Zhang. They just announced. Now, Zhang and Hrgović fought last year in August, and that was a controversial win for Hrgović. So it's quite funny how Zhang's managed to get himself the bigger fights, whereas Hrgović has taken on someone from two Australians back to back who aren't really up there in the heavyweight division. And yeah, Parker. What? So you want Joshua Parker in the summer then? Is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily, but I'm just looking at, obviously Eddie Hearn's been making a lot of noise about Joshua and becoming, that he thinks before Joshua retires he'll be the unified heavyweight title holder.
I agree.
So obviously, could he fight for the IBF belt? I don't necessarily think Hrgović is going to want to fight Joshua, because then he's just handing his belt over. So maybe Hrgović will fight Parker. And then if Parker does win that, then we are seeing that AJ Parker fight that we've said a couple of times we'd like to see. It's just an idea as a sort of... But the problem is there's so many good fights to be made in the heavyweight division at the moment, because all the good fights are being made over in Saudi, that they have knock-on effects and bigger fights in the future. It
looks as if they've pre-planned a lot of it. With
they've probably pre-planned until 2030.
With the press conference last night, they were already speaking about the winner of Ngannou and Joshua fights the winner of Fury and Usyk, and it's mad to think if Ngannou pulled it off, he could be fighting for unified heavyweight championship in his third ever boxing fight, which would be
bonkers.
Yeah, crazy. But
do you know what I hope happens now? February 17th for Fury and Usyk. Whoever wins that, obviously I've got Fury, you two've got Usyk. I hope they vacate all the three belts and just have one just keeps the WBC, and then it just opens up the heavyweight division again.
They've introduced that new unified belt anyway. I don't know whether they I don't even think it'd be possible, but whether he's trying somehow to get all of them together, and instead of having the 4 separate belts,
I'm sure
finally get just the one for everyone to go towards.
Proper UFC then, though, ain't it?
I don't know if I'd like that. If I was if I had 4 belts, I'd want to have one on the right shoulder, one on the left shoulder, 2 on my waist.
Yeah, but I think
I'd want to wear all 4 belts. I don't want a single belt.
For boxing and for fans,
it's less political,
then you can look.
Yeah.
The one guy with the belt is the one that everyone else has got to chase.
Happening,
That's
though,
the
is
argument, though, ain't it? With how many belts they've got, that
you could be a world champion without ever having to fight another world champion, really.
Whereas in the UFC, there's only one world champion to fight. So
I think, well, we were talking about the sort of farcical nature of the different belts and stuff earlier, weren't we, Harry, with Jai Opetaia, who looking likely to become the mandatory challenger for the belt that was stripped of him when he fought Elisoro.
It's mad.
So you've got the IBF who have stripped him because he couldn't fight the guy he wanted to fight. So he went and fought Elisoro, who's a good heavyweight. They've stripped him of it. Cruiserweight, sorry. And then they've stripped him of it, and then now he's got to fight for his own belt again. I mean, it's just bizarre. It seems.
Yeah, I think we did say when he give it up eventually, it's probably just because he knows he could probably go and get it back.
He's that good.
Which is what's likely going to happen. I think there's a good chance he'll probably become undisputed that weight class, because I can't see anyone beating him.
How old is he? Is he?
I don't know off the top of my head.
He's younger than 30, surely.
Yeah, he's a bit on the younger side.
Make the jump.
I'll look it up now. But we've talked quite a lot about Jai Opetaia, and I think the general consensus is at 28. He is
28.
Now,
okay, so
that he will be the unified cruiserweight title holder, and then probably move up to heavyweight or to the new make weight weight division in the middle, either or.
Yeah.
But then moving on from that is a completely left field audio clip away from sort of men's heavyweight boxing that we talk quite a lot about. I mean, it's Natasha Jonas making an interesting point that I don't think we really talked about when we talked about the 12 3-minute rounds with women's boxing, and Natasha Jonas sort of talked about why she isn't doing it for different reasons.
But yeah, the deciding factor is, well, you're going to do more work and be in there more time, or you're going to get paid more for it, and the answer was no. So yeah, I fully support the likes of Serrano who are, championing the 3 minutes and wanting it to be fair, but they're also getting financially rewarded for that. We've heard her recently say, she earns $1 million or $1 million, whatever it was. And yeah, great for her. But that wasn't the same. It wasn't going to be the same thing for me. So
obviously Jonas, her fight with Mikaela Mayer this weekend is going to be 10 2-minute rounds, I think. Yeah. So obviously they're not having the 3-minute round fights. I mean, what's your thoughts on Jonas's point there that, why expect her to do more for less? Is that something that we maybe overlooked as well when we were talking about the 12 3-minute round for women?
It's definitely something I didn't put into my head when discussing that women should just do it. They don't get paid enough, so
yeah, they should. If you're gonna do the 12 3-minute rounds, then you should be compensated the same as what the men are getting paid, really, or at least a better amount than what they are for 10 2-minute rounds. But I think another argument I've seen a few of the female boxers make over the last few weeks is a lot of them have trained their whole career at 10 2 minutes, and to go from that now to 12 threes, that is a lot of extra work, and it's probably, like, depending on what type of fighter you are, it's going to be better for some than others. Like, some fighters, because it's 10 2-minute rounds, they are quite fast paced, because they know in those 2 minutes they've got to win those rounds quite quickly, whereas if you move into 12 threes, having to keep that pace up is going to be a bit harder.
But yeah, I get that. But also, I think you look at it. Men's fights, you see it as well, where they work their way up, sort of the division. They're fighting 6 3-minute rounds, and then all of a sudden
they're fighting 3-minute rounds, though, aren't they? They're used to 3 minutes.
But I think it's a shift that women's boxing needs to make at some point, and whenever you do it, people are going to miss out from it. That's just the nature of it. I think it needs to happen at some point.
The gradual thing they should do is 10 3-minute rounds. Just maybe.
I think they've started with the Olympics. They've started with the females of 3-minute rounds now over the last 2 cycles of the Olympics. So I think
there is change.
Probably
coming.
With the next generation, you'll see a lot more 3-minute round fighters, female fights. But yeah, I think it's going to take time for it to move towards that. I don't think you can just overnight, as much as, like, obviously if some of them want to do it, like we've seen with Serrano, she's more than happy to get in there now and do 12 3-minute rounds if the two fighters agree to it. then I don't see why they shouldn't be allowed to. But I can also understand if some of them don't want to change up what they've done their whole careers and want to stick to what they have done, then that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's it's entirely reasonable to say they don't want to do it, but they should certainly have the option to. And moving away from that now onto some of our sort of talking points from the week. The first one I mentioned, obviously, we got Misfits and the PBA had a bit of a fallout on Twitter. PBA were telling them, I've got the tweet here, they're splitting up with Misfits due to clear violations of the PBA rules and bringing boxing into disrepute, which they then tweeted a day later that I think that Misfits are doing great things and that they wish them all the best of luck. So someone at the PR team there has clearly had a go at someone. But I suppose the talking point that I want to talk from it, obviously we've got the Misfits 12 card this weekend. You got Elbrook and AJ Bunker fighting.
Some good fights on it.
The second time, previously fought in the Kingpin fights, and Ed Matthews against like a mystery opponent, for example.
Lewis Pineda.
Imagine. But I suppose the point I want to make is, do we think that Misfits are obviously introducing their own judging system, and they've done things in the past with a tag team and stuff that are a little bit sort of bizarre? Is this a case of boxing purists sort of throwing their toy out the pram because they're not happy with it? Or do Misfits need to be careful with what they're doing and not moving towards this sort of unofficial white-collar boxing for entertainment sort of phenomenon we're seeing at the moment with like fight nights and student fight nights?
I think they're just trying to be a bit different. They're trying to obviously get a different set of eyes on them. They probably know that most mainstream boxing audiences are not going to go across them. I think it's a younger audience that have grown up on watching or seeing these influencers. I think it's a younger generation thing.
Is the younger generation
I think
watching it?
If you were younger and you were seeing these and you were seeing like tag team boxing fights, it's probably funny and interesting to watch. But in terms of it, there's a lot of rumours going around with Misfits have already planned a while back that they were parting company with them, and it's sort of the PBA throwing their toys up the pram a bit over being left out. But the Wade Concept, the guy who covers a lot of the influencer boxing, was talking about it last night. I seen that he doesn't think that the PBA are any good anyway because they weren't testing fighters regularly. Like every fighter really, especially at that level, probably should be being tested because it's not there every day.
They're professionals, aren't they? And put inverted commas in front of it. But
apparently they were just picking and choosing when they wanted to test people, and like you could have anyone getting in a ring on anything at that point and causing serious damage, and they are not. There's
rumours as well Saturday that Ed Matthews is.
Yeah, there's a thing about him. He's obviously admitted.
He's had a hearing as well, ain't he?
Yeah, he's admitted previously that he was taking steroids, but before he had started with Misfits. But then, if the PBA haven't been properly tested him, what's to say that he hasn't been?
Who's at fault though? Is it Ed Matthews or is it the PBA?
Well, they are the people in control of testing people, so at the end of the day, that's what they're there for.
If they're sanctioning the fight, then they've got to make sure that it's being done under their rules and regulations. And if things are being broken and rules are being broken, then events shouldn't be being put on, and they're still sanctioning the events. So it's really on the PBAs to say, no, we're not sanctioning your fights because of X, Y, and Z. Not to go, oh, but Misfits are breaking the rules. They're your rules. Enforce them. Yeah, it's
who's sanctioning Saturday night then? Is it a new body or?
It'll probably be the British. It'll be the Nevada Boxing Control, innit?
Yeah, it was supposed to be the PBA, I think, but then
they can't do the event.
Whole thing has happened, and the PBA were on about testing Ed Matthews like 2 nights before, which then they didn't want to happen, and it's just caused a bit of chaos. It's gonna go ahead, I think, because with their 4 or 5 days out from it, they're not gonna want to cancel the whole thing. I think that's the main event, I think, in the Ed Matthews fight.
Yeah, I think so.
Who's the mystery opponent?
I don't know.
I think
it has to be Pineda.
I think it could be Deji.
Deji against Matthews.
Could be, to be fair, yeah.
He's been quiet lately. So
he has been.
He has been training, and it'd be a good fight for him. The other one, I don't know whether it'd be
pay-per-view card as well.
possible, would be Joe Weller.
Yeah.
If they bring him back, and that'd be a shock return for him, but then you're missing out on sort of the build-up of having him involved in the event if you just bring him out with no one knowing.
Yeah, his big thing is that his build-up to the fights were quite good. Yeah, so I think
he's going to be...
Alex Wasabi could potentially.
But, looking at it, I think whoever goes in there with him is going to be a good fight, because he's fought twice for Misfits. He lost the first fight, but gave a good effort. I think he was just lacking fitness, so he fought Blueface. I think it was just his
Blueface.
stamina just
that was
give
on
way,
Kingpin as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the Kingpin one, and then he fought Swarms in the last one, and I think he jumped in there like on a week's notice and flattened him after about 20 seconds.
Yeah, flattened him pretty quick.
Yeah, but then people are saying that he's taking stuff, so...
Yeah.
PBA again.
Oh, well. Well, moving on from that to...
proper boxing.
Well, someone else who is stretching the realms of boxing and what you can achieve. Turki Alalshikh has been back at the drawing board, and he announced he stuck Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren on it, saying that they're going to do a 5v5 Queensberry versus Matchroom boxing, almost like SmackDown versus Raw, like
Survivor Series.
Yeah, I mean it sounds certainly exciting, and I think you said it earlier, Harry, that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren kind of looking like, oh shit, he's dropped us in it with that. When he said it at the press conference.
Yeah, but you say that, but both Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are up for it, aren't they? Frank Warren wants to put £1 million wager on it.
Well, of course they are. The money.
I think he just put him on the spot a bit, looking at him. I think they were just like, we can't really
they're
say
thinking
no.
This guy, he's got way too much money now.
Yeah.
He's gonna probably bring in a Royal Rumble boxing. You know,
Yeah,
talking about Misfits. Imagine that.
Maybe. Yeah,
Francis Ngannou coming out to number 30.
I think we said it. Oh my god,
that's worse than the Undertaker.
We said it when we talked about it a couple of weeks ago that he's almost like he's playing Football Manager, and it was Eddie Hearn that said it. He said he's playing Championship Manager, or Football Manager it's now called. He can just do what he likes. He's got the money. He's got the sort of fuck you money where he goes, I'm gonna do this, no matter how much it costs. Yeah. And we're going to put it in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh, and it's going to be great. And for as long as that lasts, it will be a brilliant thing. We'll talk about the
as Frank Warren said, we're in boxing heaven at the moment, aren't we? So we have to just, instead of talking bad about it, let's just get ourselves involved with it, and because it's not going to be around for long, I don't think. Yeah,
it won't.
These big names are going to retire, and then the next generation are going to come through, and then it's going to wait. Turki Alalshikh's going to wait then until they get bigger and bigger, and then bring them over.
Is there an element as well of maybe this is something we also haven't discussed when we talked a lot about the Saudis in the past, is that if we're making all the big fights and all the big fighters are fighting one another, then these sort of fighters that are in and around the outskirts of elite, how many times have we seen someone who has won a big fight and that's been the sort of springboard for their career? Is there sort of a vacuum where we're not seeing them get the opportunities because the big heavyweights are fighting each other, and so they're the Ajit Kayabels of the world aren't getting those huge fights, and so like you say, when they retire, is there going to be a vacuum of big names because we've seen them all and we've seen them all against each other?
I think that's what you want to see you want to see the best fight the best, and that's what boxing fans want to see. I don't think I'd ever get tired of sitting down on a Saturday night and seeing like AJ and Fury going at it, or
AJ and 6'7", a couple of years down the line.
Yeah, you probably won't want to see him fighting every weekend, the same fights, but like you said with Kayabel, he on that Day of Reckoning card with the performance he put in, he's put himself into a bit more of a spotlight, got more people.
He's getting talked about more,
yeah, and like it could lead to him getting those future fights, and obviously, like, you don't really know who's going to be like the next breakthrough talent unless you watch like the amateurs and Olympic boxing a lot. You probably, like, people who watch that are probably going to know who in the next 5 to 10 years are going to be the people taking that spot. I think there's always going to be big heavyweight fighters to take the big fights out there, so I think, it's just seeing what comes next, really.
Yeah, I think he's investing his money smartly, ain't he, Turki Alalshikh? So keep it going, that's what I say.
Well, then moving on from the big huge names fighting over in Saudi Arabia to a fight happening in Liverpool on this weekend, obviously headlined with Natasha, Jonas and Mikaela, but it's actually got some quite interesting undercards on there as well. I mean, starting from the bottom, we've got Mark Jeffers fighting Jermaine Brown. Mark Jeffers 16-0. Also, fun fact for you, for our good friend Big Ben Thomas.
I was going to say yes.
I was having a look on the box rec, and he fought.
Have to get revenge
He
for
fought
the
Ben
name.
Thomas.
He did fight Ben Thomas, and he's only 25, so he's a young boxer. He's particularly for 16-0.
Do you know what Ben's doing right now? He's quickly deleting what he had on his notes, saying that he lost to him.
He did. Did he lose or did he win?
No, did he win?
No, he beat.
He beat Ben
you
Thomas.
beat. Oh, wow.
No, Ben Thomas lost.
Ben Thomas lost. He beat you. Yeah, you're deleting it because you said you beat him.
He also, interestingly, beat Zach Chelly, who's fighting on a couple
right.
fights
Co-main
up.
event.
Yeah, against Cullen, and it was actually Zach Chelly that took Jermaine Brown, his opponent's European belt. So it's
a bit of confusion.
It's all over. I think there's two fighters that Chelly's fought as well. The others, I think he's fought. Maybe McKenna. It was or Cullen possibly.
Yeah, Jeffers and Brown are fighting for the English title, and then you've got Cullen and Chelly fighting for British and Commonwealth. Even though Jeffers has beat Chelly.
He claimed the English title over Chelly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Commonwealth title.
So Chelly's lost the English title and is now fighting for British title and Commonwealth.
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, it's all a bit of a mess, and I just think this is one of those fights where there's a couple interesting fighters that are sort of up and coming. It'll be interesting to see their sort of next moves. I think Jeffers wanted the European belt next. I think he's going to fight the current European champ if he gets past Jermaine Brown in this one.
Jermaine Brown's held the English title as well before 2022.
Yeah,
carnage then.
Jesus. Have you seen as well former IBO World Cruiserweight Champion Jack Macy? He took Joseph Parker the distance last year in, I think it was Liverpool. He returns back.
Is he fighting on this one as well?
He's on the card as well.
Oh, I've missed that one. My bad. Yeah,
good card.
It is,
but when you read into detail about the fights, then you try and think, hang on a minute.
We've got Aaron McKenna fighting for the WBC International middleweight.
Linus Udofia?
Yeah,
we'll go with that. Udofia.
It's normally me who tries to attempt the complicated pronunciation.
You go for the hard ones. I go if there's an easy one, I'll try my best.
That's another interesting fight. We've got someone who is undefeated in McKenna, and who's fighting another fighter who's had some pretty big fights. He beat Tyler Denny back in 2019, who won the European Championship on the Adam Azim undercard, I think it was.
Back in June. Was that the Chris Billham-Smith, Lawrence Okoli card?
No, so he beat Tyler Denny back in 2019.
Oh, okay.
But he won his European belt. I think it was on the Azim undercard. I remember seeing it. Tyler Denny, this is not.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not Udofia, but
it's like confusing like the fights.
Yeah, it is a confusing card. There's everyone's fought everyone, but
should be an interesting press conference then. There should be.
Yeah,
everyone sat next to each other.
Udofia has had a fight against Denzel Bentley as well.
Yeah, another big name. Is that who Nathan Heaney beat? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
In the most recent fight, and he's got fight news coming up soon. Nathan Heaney, I saw on Twitter.
I hope it's in Stoke. He deserves a stadium. He deserves a stadium.
In the Bet365 stadium.
Is it called that now?
I think it is.
Is it still?
I think it is the Bet365.
The best stadium name in English football. Apart from Rodney Parade, but
absolutely not. Ellen Road.
What? Ben, have you got anything to say about that? You can't really say much about it now, can you? After Saturday,
keep quiet.
The Cardiff City Stadium.
Yeah.
At least it's not the Visit Malaysia Stadium or whatever it could be.
It's not like Swansea.com stadium, is it? So.
Are they sponsored by their own website?
Yeah.
That's bad.
When the rugby team play the Ospreys.
I don't know, Swansea.com I think is like a tourism website for Swansea.
Who's going to Swansea for tourism? Let's be honest.
No one. Absolutely no one is.
How about guest doesn't hear this next week? We love Swansea. Swansea's unbelievable.
Yeah, never mind. Swansea's a lovely place if you're listening, Jared. It's a lovely place.
The Mumbles, incredible. But the rest,
the bus stop, the famous corner routine, the Swansea bus stop. Have you seen that?
famous bus stop.
Do you not know that?
No.
There's a corner routine called the Swansea bus stop, which is where you line up as like a 4-5 at the edge of the box, and then you run in together because you're all blocking each other's lanes from the defenders. And it was, I think it was a Gareth.
That's like something from Ted Lasso. That is.
No, it was a genuine thing because the old set piece specialist or whatever at Swansea made it when they had, I don't know, like Carl Bartley and stuff at the back, some proper Brexit defenders. Yeah, it's a fun fact for you there. Another thing at Swansea, the Swansea bus stop.
We've gone from talking about a world title fight on Saturday night to now Ted Lasso tactics in football.
Yeah, I mean, why not? We cover it all on this podcast. We really do. And then yeah, like we got like we said, we got Jack Cullen fighting Zach Chelly. Seems like a fight I don't necessarily want to see, this one. Zach Chelly with 2 losses and a draw. The 2 losses obviously coming against people we've mentioned already.
He's stepping down, Cullen. Looking at this.
Yeah, maybe it's a fight just for the time being. Obviously they are fighting for the British and Commonwealth, so he's getting belts for it, or keeping hold of belts for it. I can't remember if he
won that against Mark Heffron.
Yeah.
In a 3rd round TKO back in September. So
yeah, he's fought Felix Cash and Diego Pacheco before as well. He lost.
But he lost both of them. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because Pacheco. Yeah, no,
that was Pacheco's debut in the UK as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, because Cullen is. Yeah, I remember now. Cullen is defending his belts, so Chelly's fighting for the belts. And I think it's probably just an easy fight to vend the belts, and then he can move on up.
How have you gone from losing your English title to fighting for the British title?
God knows.
It's boxing for you, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
so this is just a fight for Jack Cullen to be like, yeah, we'll keep you active. Is Zach Chelly?
Keep your belts so you don't have to vacate. But then at the top of that, we've got Natasha Jonas versus Mikaela Meyer, which is looking like it's going to be a really interesting fight. There's been a big back and forth between the two of them. Natasha Jonas is a...
Catch that. Could you try again?
Siri's going mental on this one.
Sorry.
Trying to bump in on the podcast, but what was I saying now? I've forgotten.
You're talking about how good the fight is.
I am.
It's
a
50-50.
Natasha Jonas is a southpaw, I think. So
Never
I think,
fought a southpaw, Meyer.
So yeah, there's an interesting sort of thing there. Mikaela Meyer's only loss, obviously, coming to Alicia Baumgartner, who's just been cleared of being a drugs cheat allegedly.
Night.
Yeah.
So many people think as well Meyer edged it as well. So
I had Meyer winning that one.
It's a good fight. This is. You know, we talk about the undercard being not the best, but this main event is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's one I'm looking forward to watching this weekend, to be fair.
Yeah, I think what I'm interested to see is that when this fight goes, we get the possibility of seeing Lauren Price fight the winner of this one. I know she wanted that, and Mikaela Meyer, I think, beat Sylvia Bortort in one of her last fights, which is who Lauren Price pretty comprehensively beat. So evidently they are of a similar level. So if Mikaela Meyer loses, then you see Price fight Meyer and then fight Jonas afterwards, or vice versa maybe. But yeah, we've said it's a 50-50 fight, but as we always do on this podcast, we've got to make some predictions. Who do you have winning the fight? Who do you think's going to take it?
I don't want to call it. It's too
I've
close.
got Mikaela Meyer, unanimous decision.
Wow. Straight
Fair
in
enough.
there. Straight in there.
What
The
about
thing
you?
that's making me think that Jonas is going to win is Meyer's never fought a southpaw. Alright, she's saying that in sparring she's fought loads of men, but it's quite different in front of the lights, in front of a cauldron, which the MS Bank Arena is going to be on Saturday night. So, you know, was she 33 years old, Meyer? She's now able to train without having a calorie deficit as well. That's because she's making the move up.
A lot bigger.
Yeah,
5'9", so she's around Ben's height, I would say.
Very cheeky that.
Yeah.
I think Natasha Jonas is going to win it. I think what she's going to bring is a southpaw. I think she's got like a 60% knockout rate compared to I think it's like 20% or something for Mikaela Meyer. So I don't think Mikaela Meyer is going to stop Jonas, and I don't think she's going to outbox her for all 10 rounds. So I think based off that, I'm going to say a Jonas knockout, particularly because Meyer's lost recently. I mean, I think Jonas has only lost to Katie Taylor.
Terry Harper as well.
She drew
of
with Terry
course.
Harper.
Oh yeah, okay. Terry Harper she drew with. Yeah.
I know, I think she might have lost one, but she's lost to Katie Taylor and
she lost early on in her career.
Yeah, a big name. So you can, but obviously Mikaela Myers recently lost a big fight, and I think that does play on your mind sometimes. And she might have second doubts about her ability, and then if she's in an atmosphere like you said, and everyone's screaming against her, that she might just crumble a little bit, or certainly take a while to get going.
She definitely doesn't feel like she lost that fight against Baumgartner though. She was
That's confidence then.
She was filming after they announced it, which like is fair enough to her. I think it was.
Yeah.
Like I suppose you could give it either way, but especially after what's come out as well, even though she's been cleared of it, it's not a very good look.
The only concern I've got for Jonas is that she's only fought once since last year after unifying the 3 titles, so that could be why I'm edging towards Maya. But I'm again going to back the Brit and say that Jonas gets her out of there, not early, back end of the fight, round 7, round 8, TKO.
You 2 against me this weekend then.
So
it's normally you 2 against me. So
yeah. Did you go? You went Callum Smith, didn't you? On
yeah,
the last one.
I'll be honest, I let that get to my head, and I was just going off Beterbiev's last performance against Yard, and 2 very different Beterbievs turned up.
Yeah.
And sadly, the best one turned up against Callum Swift, not against Anthony Yard. So
I suppose what we can talk from there then is another bold prediction. The fight Beterbiev versus Bivol that we're due to see. Who do you boys think's going to win that one? Your early bets. We won't lock this in just yet.
It's easy for me. For me.
Who are you going for, Harry?
Beterbiev finishes him early.
Around.
What are we saying early though? Round 5?
I don't know. It's your bet, mate. I'm not saying.
Round 5 early then. Yeah, round 5 stoppage.
It's a tough one because
just remember, I'm quite good at my predictions.
All right. I think
who predicted that Wilder was going to knock out Parker? Both Sam and Ben should put their hands up right now.
I think I said like a 10th round finish though, so at least I knew it would be close.
Yeah, but you had Wilder winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the difficult thing for me is that every time Bivol goes into a fight, I go, look, he's going to win. He's going to outbox the opponent. That I don't have a doubt in, and I don't have a doubt that Bivol will probably outbox Beterbiev throughout the round. But I don't know if anyone could box Beterbiev for 12 rounds and not get knocked out. That's the thing I worry about, is that
nobody has.
Can Bivol do it for the entire 12 rounds? Because I don't think Bivol's not going to knock out Beterbiev. He hasn't got the power for that. He's not a massive knockout puncher anyway, and he couldn't put away Lyndon and Arthur, I don't think, did he? Or did he just at the end? I can't remember now.
I think that went to the points, didn't it? Or
no, he finished him at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, but it took him a while to break him down, and I just don't see him causing Beterbiev any issues in that sense.
No, it did go to points actually.
Did it? I'm trying. I think it did went to points because that's the fight that
they were basically
went
just
out
praising Lyndon Arthur for managing not to.
I think that was the fight where you could easily take a break and come back and not miss much action.
Yeah, it was a unanimous decision win, 120 to 107, so he won all of them. He knocked him down once.
But we are forgetting that Bivol has beaten a certain Saul Canelo Alvarez, so maybe that plays a factor. But yeah, I still think Beterbiev wins.
I like to bring that one up because my best mate Callum, who loves the podcast, is a big Canelo fan, and so every time I can let him know that he lost is more and more enjoyable to me. But moving on from that, Bivol...
Callum is now turning off the podcast and never listening again.
Nah, never mind. You will be missed. Bivol, it feels wrong to me saying that I think Bivol's going to lose because I think he's so good, but I'm struggling to also say that Bivol will beat Beterbiev. Have you got any? Have you got a thought
Ben,
on it?
You haven't said anything.
I'm stuck between the two. I think at the minute I'd go Beterbiev, but I think that might just be recency bias.
Yeah. I'll go an early hedge bet that I think Bivol beats him over 12 rounds. We'll pretend that maybe Beterbiev, if it's going to be in Saudi, can't get his testosterone and human growth hormones over there, and so Bivol beats him comfortably. But even that is a tough thing to say because I just don't see anyone beating Beterbiev as he is, or at the Beterbiev that turned up against Callum Smith. I don't think anyone beats.
Well, if you work out the way Beterbiev works out, then fair play to you, because have you seen the way he does his press ups and turning his wrist?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he was spinning a 20 kg like
Yeah, but they all seem to do it though.
weightlifting. You know the big bars.
Yeah.
He was just one wrist spinning
Jesus.
it round.
They all seem to be doing it though in Eastern Europe. Alexander Usyk, what was it last week, was posting that he was with a dumbbell.
Yeah, he was like juggling
just train
kettlebells. It's good to get the wrist strength and stuff, because obviously if your wrists are weak, then you lose the power of your punches. Because if your wrist buckles, then all the power just goes into your wrist rather than into their face.
Well, I know what I'm working out now then.
Honestly, yeah, you'll walk into the gym and we'll all just be like wrists,
Doing our
hands,
press-ups.
fingers.
But all of us will end up in A&E because we've done it wrong and we've both snapped our...
I broke my wrist, so I'm
you can't do it then.
I'm in danger, yeah. I broke my wrist. And do you know what I did, how I broke my wrist? It's quite embarrassing, actually.
Oh.
I was playing football.
Football and you broke your wrist? You accidentally caught the ball?
No, on a 4G, and I went in for a slide tackle, won the ball, went out for a throw-in or something. Well, it was in training, and I put my hands down, and I just broke my wrist. I broke one and I sprained the other.
What?
It was a cold day. The pitch was frozen. It was dead hard. There was concrete under that had frozen.
I think I got one up on you. I broke my toe in my sleep.
What?
Yeah. So my bed used to be by my wall, and I think I must have been scoring an 89th winner in a World Cup final, and yeah, I woke up and I couldn't really walk the following morning.
That's unreal, to be fair. You ever
Hang on, Ben, have you broken anything? Come on, we're telling embarrassing stories here.
I've broken my toe playing football.
Oh. Yeah.
Toes.
Can I just say that this toe was broken from playing rugby, so it was quite easily. So I broke it a second time by kicking a wall in my sleep.
Weak. That's weak. I broke my heel jumping over a wall in school shoes, and I landed, and obviously because the heel's on a school shoe, all the power everything went through my heel, fractured my heel.
Jesus.
I broke fingers. I don't know.
Well, I've got my nose, but
different.
Let's forget about that. That's from rugby. This is a proper.
I bet you did that on purpose, didn't you?
No. Do you want to know
you
how I did it?
You just headbutted the mirror.
No.
I want people to know I'm a rugby
I was in
lad.
a ruck, and my mate said, "Lock up," and a player just came and whacked me. Oh, it was the worst pain ever. And then one of the boys was saying, "Why are you crying for?" And I was like, "I'm not crying. It's just it kills.
Just got
Bloody
some in the
kills."
eye.
It's hay fever.
Hay fever, yeah. And there was one other thing that I wanted to talk about before. Of course, we've got we haven't really talked too much on the announcement of the fights on the undercard of the AJ and Ngannou fight. And if you want to see the full list, then check out our Twitter. We put it up on there.
Good plug.
But I think what I'll do real quick is I'll get up that tweet so that we can talk in not too long, because we're knocking on the door of an hour, and yeah, people haven't got time to be hanging around listening to us talk for any more than an hour, do they? Let's be real. So we've got Roman Fury fighting on the undercard.
Another Fury.
Another probably underwhelming fighter. I can't remember what was his. What's Tyson's cousin called that we watched and had to get his shorts taped up because his shorts kept falling down.
Oh, what was his name?
That was embarrassing.
Oh, I know his name.
I thought Roman Fury was the dead young one, because obviously you've got quite a lot of kids. Tyson.
Roman Fury's not heavyweight though, is he? He's cruiserweight.
I don't know.
He's a wish Tyson Fury as well, if you've ever seen him.
He does look like it, yeah. He doesn't look like Tommy, I can tell you that for free. Yeah, he's a cruiserweight. He is a cruiserweight. This is his fourth professional fight. He's 3-0 currently, ranked 35 as a British cruiserweight, which isn't, saying much.
Yeah.
I think it's annoying that he's on the card, because I don't think he brings anything necessarily. I imagine it's because he's a Fury, and maybe Fury's putting a good word with His Excellency. It'd be a shame not to see someone, I'm trying to think, just, I don't know, someone like Vidal Riley or Ben Whittaker, or someone who's done a lot and earned maybe a big break in boxing, rather than just being the ugly brother of Tyson Fury, not the good looking
way
one.
to get yourself on a card, don't it?
Yeah,
100%.
Do you want to change your name to Fury? Change your surname to Fury? See if I reckon you could pass for a Fury.
I think you can win any boxing match as well, as if your surname's Fury.
Yeah,
we've seen that in the past, haven't we?
Take it to a points decision.
If your name's Fury, you're guaranteed to win.
And then we've got, is it Justin Huney? Is it? I don't actually know how to pronounce that on the.
All the other undercard fights, can I just say, are irrelevant. let's just talk about one undercard fight that we're all very excited to see, and that's Gavin Gwynne, Mark Chamberlain.
There's two, actually.
No, forget about the Nick Ball one as well. No, Gavin Gwynne is in a massive fight for his career here, in my opinion. This is probably his biggest test to date, and what a place to have it as well, in the Kingdom Arena in Saudi Arabia.
I have got a bone to pick with His Excellency. I mean, we've been very, very nice about about Turkey so far. But to rob us of this Cardiff card we were building, he's nabbed Cordina over to Saudi Arabia, and now he's nabbed Gwynne over to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, he's moving Wales to Saudi Arabia, by the looks of it.
Would you move to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah,
if they just picked up Merthyr and dropped it in the desert?
I think Merthyr's going to be going to the desert, though. You know, I think Gavin Gwynne's following is incredible.
Yeah. The Merthyr Mexican, it's going to be big.
Massive fight for both of them, really. Chamberlain's obviously unbeaten, 14-0, and Gwynne's going to have to put a real statement out there. I think he's going to have to obviously be better than last time against Marcelli, but it's a massive fight on a massive card. Like, there's going to be plenty of eyes on it, so it's a chance for him to impress.
Yeah, and I think it says on here, or as far as I can tell from here, it's not a fight for Gwynne's European belt.
No, he's vacated the British belt as well, I think, Gwynne. I read, yeah.
I didn't know that. If only we could ask him. But
hint, we can.
Can we?
We can.
Possibly.
A couple of days.
Allegedly. It's not. We haven't got the here we go yet.
Here we go.
But yeah, Nick Ball as well, fighting. I think Nick Ball... I was trying to remember this morning. I think I put Nick Ball on... Or one of us put Nick Ball on our fighters to watch out for. I thought I did. Did you?
No, I think it was you.
I think it was me.
Yeah, it was you then. Okay.
So, he was one that I put on there and has got that big fight this year that I said he deserved, fighting for the world for featherweight. I think that'll be a really interesting fight. I think he's earned that one, Nick Ball. He's got a very impressive record. I think
he's looked really good.
He's had a lot of wins in his career that has earned himself that, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. And then obviously the big one, like you mentioned, we've got Zhilei Zhang versus Parker as well, which is another big fight. Parker sort of hinted, and we played that audio clip on the last one, that fight was maybe going to happen.
It was inevitable, wasn't it?
So it's not an easy fight for Parker, that though.
No, not at all.
It's much harder than Wilder, I would say.
Yeah,
easily harder than Wilder's.
Then you probably got two of the biggest hitters now in heavyweight boxing with.
This fight should have been advertised. What was the fight advertised? The Battle of the Baddest. Fury and Ngannou, wasn't it? This should be it now. Not this. What's it called? Knockout Chaos.
Yeah, which is weird because it's a lot of. We were saying that it's actually quite nice because they've gotten a lot of lighter weights on this one. They've got the featherweight and the cruiserweight and lightweights as well. So there's a good mix of weights where we've seen a lot of heavyweight boxing in Saudi Arabia so far. But the Battle of the Baddest, I think, is probably heavier. I think. If I had to guess, I think there's probably more. So maybe they've got those the wrong way round. But who are we to tell His Excellency what to do?
100%.
I don't think we're in a place to do that. Have you guys got anything else to add before we wrap this one up for the week?
We haven't talked about Jarrell Miller, which is good, and we're gonna.
I was gonna say any news on your favourite fighter, Ryan Garcia? Or
there is something. Oscar De La Hoya at the start of the press conference, weren't there? They were laughing about him. Gareth A. Davis was talking about it.
Yeah, I think it's.
What is he doing?
He's having a bit of an issy fit because he's not involved.
Yeah, exactly. What is he doing? Don't talk bad about it.
You're not turning our money down, you? No. If they come calling.
100%.
Yeah, so I'm just looking here. The Usyk Fury is definitely heavy. I mean, you've obviously got Isaac Lowe and Joe Cordina, which is down at feather and super feather, but the rest of them are all cruisers and heavyweights. Obviously, Moses Atama and stuff. So. They got those the wrong way around, if you ask me. But no, I haven't. I've been trying to ignore all the Ryan Garcia stuff because
for a change,
I think he was living rent free in a large portion of my brain, which is never healthy. But yeah, that wraps up for another episode. If you guys are listening on Spotify, then you can check out our YouTube channel as well, where we post shorts and clips of the podcast. Or vice versa, if you're listening on YouTube and you prefer a Spotify listen when maybe you're driving, then you can check us out on Spotify. Otherwise, give us a follow on Twitter, where we do all the fight updates and announcements and anything you could possibly need to know when you're thinking, I wonder when the next Puncher's Chance podcast is coming out.
Well, look at this. Steve is asking for information on our podcast. So, yeah, we are providing for the boxing fans.
Providing all the information you require.
Around the clock.
And we will see you guys next week for our usual episode and possibly an added extra as well, if you're lucky.